All right, Precalc, we're moving into polar coordinates, and this is just something different, kind of fun. We are in lesson 9.5, and we're working with polar coordinates. Our essential question is, how do you describe the position of a point in a plane using distance and angle rather than the x and y coordinates? So we're back at this unit circle, and we know our unit circle, or we should know our unit circle. So you guys are familiar with your radians, and everything's now going to be given in radians. So let's look at A. A is asking us to graph 3 and negative pi over 3. So remember negative pi over 3, we're not going to the positive pi over 3, we're going to a negative pi over 3. So that's going to be at this line right here. And I have to graph 3, so I'm going to go to the 3. And how they graph this is they graph it as a line, they put a dot on the number, and an arrow. And remember, we went down the unit circle, clockwise down the unit circle, because of that negative. All right, let's look at 2 pi over 6. Well, 2 is going to bring us to here on the polar coordinate, and pi over 6 is going to bring us to this one. So again, I'm going to put a dot at 2 pi over 6, and I'm going to draw a line with an arrow. And the last one, we're going to look at 2 negative pi over 6. Again, we're going backwards down the unit circle. So I'm going to look at this 2. I'm going to go pi over 6. I'm going to draw an arrow, and that is 2 negative pi over 6. So what if I threw something at you that's a little different, and what if I told you to graph 1, let's try that again, negative 1 pi over 6. Well, remember, if I go negative 1, that's here. And because pi over 6 is going, remember when we go around the unit circle counterclockwise, that is the way we go around positively around the unit circle. So I'm going to actually go pi over 6. I'm going to erase this negative 1, but negative 1 is going to bring me here, and I have to go pi over 6, which is going to be here. So it's a little different if they switch it up on you. So remember, the negative is going to go negative, just like you would in a rectangular coordinate, and then the pi over 6 is going to continue to go counterclockwise around the unit circle. The next thing that we need to learn is what we call coordinate conversion. The polar coordinates, pi and theta, are related to the rectangular coordinates, x, y, as follows. So x is equal to r times cosine of theta. Y is equal to r times sine of theta. And moving on, tan of theta is equal to y over x, which makes sense because tan was sine over cosine. And r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. And yes, that is the same formula that we use for a circle. So our first set of questions is going to say convert each point to rectangular coordinates. So we need to change these to rectangular coordinates. So we're given them in the polar coordinates, and we want to change these to rectangular coordinates. So I'm given the r and the theta. So this is my r, this is my theta. So I have to use these two to convert to rectangular. Remember, x is equal to r times the cosine of 3 pi over 6. Well, I know 3 pi over 6 isn't 3 pi over 6. Isn't that just pi over 2? So I'm going to write this as pi over 2. Well, remember when we're looking at the unit circle, pi over 2 is here. And the x-coordinate, remember, because it's a unit circle, this is 0, 1. So this is just saying 4 times, well, the cosine of pi over 2 is 0. So the x-coordinate is 0. Now to find the y-coordinate, y is equal to r times the sine of theta. R is 4 still, and the sine of theta, well, we know the sine of theta is going to be that 1. So this is just saying 4 times 1, which is 4. So I know that the rectangular coordinates of A are 0 and 4. Let's go ahead and look at B. I need those same formulas. So I'm going to look at B. I know that x is equal to 2 cosine pi over 6. Do you remember what the cosine of pi over 6 is? This is 2 times root 3 over 2, which ends up being root 3. And when I convert the y is equal to 2 times the sine of pi over 6. Do you remember what the sine of pi over 6 is? 1/2. So this is just going to reduce to be 1. So my rectangular coordinates, although they're weird numbers, are root 3 and 1. All right, so now we have to go backwards. These are the two formulas we need. I wrote them at the top here so you could have them. R is equal to x squared plus y squared. And tan of theta, which I know we have to solve for theta, is equal to y over x. So let's start with r. I think I said r instead of r squared. R squared is equal to, well, x squared is 2 squared plus 2 squared. So I know that r squared is equal to 4 plus 4. So r squared is equal to 8, but remember we have to take the square root of each side. So when I take the square root of each side, r is equal to 2 root 2. Now this is just for A. I'm only on A so far. So I'm only on this one so far. Now I have to find theta. So let's go ahead and use the other formula. I'm going to do that in bright pink. And we know that the tan of theta is equal to y over x. Well, that's 2 over 2. So the tan of what angle is equal to 1? So again, we have to think of that unit circle. And I know that this is going to give me a 1. And that's it. So what is that angle? Yes, it is a 45-degree angle, also known as theta being pi over 4. So the answer to this one right here is 2 root 2 and pi over 4. That is the polar coordinate for this rectangular coordinate. And if you think about it, if I was to graph 2 over 2, I know I could go 2 and 2, and we're going to hit right at that 45-degree angle. So that makes sense, but we're now converting it into those polar. So let's look at this rectangular coordinate. I know to find r squared is equal to x squared plus y squared. We could probably do this in our head. I know that x squared, negative 1 squared is 1. Y squared, 0 squared is 0. So if r squared equals 1, r is going to equal 1. So now I have to use the other formula. I know that the tan of theta is equal to y over x. So I know that the tan of theta is equal to 0. So where on the unit circle is the sine over cosine equal to 0? Good. That theta is going to be at pi. So again, we have to have our knowledge of our unit circle. So if you've forgotten that unit circle, make sure you study up. Great job.